Will, go ahead and start us. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Coach. Obviously, Coach Scott talked about it yesterday with tempo and getting prepared for that. Just kind of what were your evaluations of dealing with that? It looked like there were times where it was good and then times where it wasn't.
Yeah, Wednesdays, we're like 4 days into preparing for the next opponent. So I always think it's kind of weird to go back and rehash the next game. But I imagine most of the questions are going to be about the previous game, win or lose. But I mean, obviously, I'm not, you don't need to be, Bill Belichick to identify the fact that that first quarter and that entire game weren't up to our standard. The game got away pretty early. I mean, the first play of the game was a disaster. It was a play that we'd seen and we practiced. We slanted into the jet sweep. We misfit a couple blocks. And then when the ball got to the second or third level, we really got to get it on the ground. And Nakua just outran our secondary, and that was disappointing. And then the players responded pretty good, though, to be honest. I mean, we got them to third down on the next series, stopped them, and they went for it on fourth down. And after the fourth down is where the tempo showed. They got into kind of an unorthodox formation real quick. We may have still been in our feelings at that time. We didn't respond. We didn't get aligned. And all of a sudden they got a big play and got down into the red zone. That was disappointing. That's, opening games are always tricky because you can only go against the things that you saw on film a year ago. And, their use of what we call 12 personnel, 1 back and 2 tight ends, and their use of tempo weren't things that were a big part of what they had done. And the first quarter of a game often is about validating the tendencies you've seen and then making adjustments as the game went on. And we certainly, as we were validating the tendencies, we're getting punched in the face. So when they got that tempo, they got down to our 20-yard line, and we actually got into 3rd and 12 again. And then they ran a draw play, a little run play on 3rd and 12. We made first contact at about 8 yards, and the guy drove us forward for a first down. Then they went tempo again, got down to the 5-yard line, kind of got us in an unorthodox situation where we misfit a run. And then we called timeout to try to settle the guys. And then they got in again. It was 14-0. And then the pick six occurred. It was 21-0. And then the next series was really, we got into 3rd and 5. And then they ran a speed option. And when they ran the speed option, we were all running all over the place. And guys, they had a right call for what we had called. And the guy broke a couple tackles, and we didn't do a very good job in the open field. Play should have gained about 8 or 9 yards and ended up gaining 30 or 40. And then after we scrapped to get to that ball, we just didn't do it. They didn't even go tempo. We didn't do a good job communicating, and we busted the coverage, and suddenly it's 0-28. And so tempo was an issue. Communication was an issue. A lot of things that occur in a first game were issues. We certainly worked hard this week to clean it up, and we look forward to getting back on the field this weekend. The identity of this team's certainly not developed yet. Don't make judgments on that performance. We certainly didn't play as the best version of ourselves, and we look forward to working hard to correct all the things that we did wrong.
There was one drive in particular, I think, kind of in that first quarter where you guys had BYU punting, at the start of the second quarter where you had BYU punting. Guys sent pressure on 3 straight plays. I think Antonio Greer got some nice penetration on either second or third down after the tight end seemed to Dallin Holker. Is that something that you can build on, just that little stop right there after they get that 15-yard gain?
Yeah, for sure. There's enough. There are enough positives to build on. And again, make no mistake, that wasn't to our standard. Far from it. That was that's not what Bulls fans expect. But there's nobody that's in Bull Nation that's as disappointed as the men in that room, the coaches, and myself. But not discouraged. BYU is a quality opponent. And they're a top 20 team for a reason. They've got great experience. They play a great composure. Again, I said the most improvement has to come between week 1 and week 2. And we certainly worked hard this week on drills that we can do to help ourselves get aligned a little bit quicker, communicate a little bit better. We hope to apply pressure. And there are that series and there are other series. As I said, we were 3 for 4 successful on 3rd and 7 or more. We were 2 for 3 successful on 3rd and short. The last 3 times they got into the red zone, we made them kick 2 field goals and had an interception. So there's little things like that you can build upon. We can't sit there and just be negative about everything, or it'll be, that won't be good for anybody. So the things we need to build on, but we all acknowledge we need to be better. And we look forward to, like I said, we look forward to the opportunity to get back out on the field this weekend and show a better version of ourselves.
Leo Haggerty.
Coach, they call it the opening game for a reason. You have no idea how your guys are going to react. If this was week 8 and it happened, it's time to push the panic button, right?
I agree. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I've seen, really good opening games that give you a false feeling of the quality of your team. And I've seen really bad opening games where people rush to judgment and say, oh, let's press the panic button. I mean, we're not pleased. We're very disappointed in our performance, but as I said, we're not discouraged. We have another opportunity to get out there this weekend, and the players responded really well. Sometimes I think kids are more resilient than the adults. I mean, they came back, and we've had really 3 good days of preparation for Howard. We respect them a lot. I mean, I coached with Larry Scott. I know Vern Hargraves. I know a lot of the coaches on their staff have ties to USF, and I know we're going to get the best version of those guys. So, it's really wasn't about BYU, and it really isn't about Howard. It's really about us being the very, very best version of ourselves. And certainly we weren't the other day. And it's my job as a coach, and it's our job as coaches and players, to correct, like anybody in life. You correct the mistake, you admit the mistake, you correct the behavior, and you move on, and you don't repeat it. And that's really the most important thing. You're exactly right. If this continues, then that's our identity. Right now we can just say, listen, here's where we start. This is a great barometer for us. Now let's correct these things and let's see where we go from there. And that's really kind of how our approach has been this week.
You know what, Coach? You can't use the weather delay as an excuse, but it was a reason. You guys are literally, your captains are coming out of the tunnel, and the referee grabs them and says, "Go back." Now, I've coached and I've played, and you time your emotions for kickoff. Now I think it was like a delay on the launching pad at NASA. You're 2.5 hours in. You had to lost a little bit of the mojo, but it's a learning experience, correct?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, and we watched the week 0 games, and I think Howard, as a matter of fact, had a long rain delay. I think State had a rain delay, and we spent a lot of time talking about as a staff that if there were a lightning or a weather delay, how would we handle it? And I thought Coach Scott and the strength staff and the nutrition staff did a really good job as well as could be done. I mean, we as coaches were already up in the press box and set up. But you're right. I've never had that happen as a player. I can only imagine as a player, because you hit it on the head, the emotions and the passion and the juice and energy as you're about to walk out for the opening game. You feel like you're prepared. And then all of a sudden they tell you to go back in. I really thought Coach Scott did a nice thing when he asked the players to go down and thank the fans. And we appreciate all the fans that stayed around. But then all of a sudden you get the opening drive, and in the first quarter like that, and there, football's a game. I don't like the term emotion. I think football's a game of passion, not emotion. But there is a certain amount of emotion in it, and we didn't respond well, and BYU did responded better than we did, and that was challenging. But I don't think anybody, Coach Scott, myself, I don't think any of the players, I don't think anybody would have used that as an excuse in any way, shape, or form. It was the same for both teams, obviously, and it was certainly a unique situation.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Lanny, go ahead.
So looking ahead now, going to Howard this weekend.
I like the way you think. Looking ahead. That's the way to think. It's Wednesday.
Now looking ahead to Howard, what is something that your team really needs to hone in on that Howard shows as a threat?
Well, I mean, again, it's less about Howard and more about us. We got to correct the errors from the previous game. We got to get our cleats to the ground. We got to get aligned. We got to read our keys. We got to run to the ball. We got to tackle. We got to execute the fundamentals much better than we did against BYU. And then we got to play much better situational football. We got to eliminate the explosive plays for certain. I mean, they had 13 explosive plays. And many of them were not what I deem catastrophic plays. Obviously, the opening play of the game, then they had a speed option that gained 40 yards, and their last touchdown run was a 50-yard run. So you'll never have good running statistics when you give up 3 long runs like that. And we got to play better on third down. We got to play better in the red zone. So it's really about us making the necessary improvements and being the very best version of ourselves. We know that we're going to get Howard's best shot. Howard has good skill. The quarterback's talented, good athlete. They've got good receivers. They've got depth at running back. They have tight ends who catch the ball well. They have a experienced offensive line, guys who have played. They're a big offensive line. And like I said, I know Larry Scott very well. I have incredible respect for him as a man and as a coach. We worked together at Tennessee for 2 years, and he played at USF here under Coach Levitt. He coached here for a long time. So, I know he's going to have his team very well prepared and excited to play on Saturday at Ray J.
And then my last question for you is, where do you feel like your defense has grown the most in the past few days preparing for Howard?
Wow. Well, it's sort of hard to say. I guess the sign of we have good men in our building. That's what I really like. Our defensive coaching staff are a group of good men, good teachers, leaders, role models, and we have good leadership on the defensive side of the ball. And we have good men who, one of the things we always talk about when we're coaching is we're critiquing the performance, not the performer. So I'm impressed that players didn't get defensive. I'm impressed. We all took accountability and responsibility. It wasn't the players did this, and the players didn't point fingers at one another, nor the coaches. We all acknowledged that we need to perform at a higher rate. And then, just like I said, how they took ownership of it. They made the personal corrections, and we made the corrections, what we think are the necessary corrections as staff. And honestly, we've had, 3 really good practices in preparation for Howard. So, now we're the physical aspect of it's kind of done. Now it's continue with the mental aspect and hopefully peaking at 7 p.m. on Saturday night.
Jay Garrett.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Coach. Continue to look forward. I don't want to take a step back, but how would you grade what are you looking forward to out of the trenches? We all know it starts in the trenches and get pressure and generate stops in the backfield and whatnot. Like, what are you looking for more so coming into this week?
Yeah, we did have 7 tackles for loss, which, out of 37 rush attempts, we only had 1 sack. Hansford had a sack. We did have a little bit of pressure, but we didn't put him in 3rd and long but 4 times. So it's not as if we had situations where we could really tee off and get after the quarterback. So, what we need to do is the grade. You asked, maybe you used the word grade when you initially asked the question and you sort of changed it. We're sort of incomplete. Yates and Chaney both played a lot, too much, in my opinion, against a really good offensive line. We need to get Nick Baggs. We need to get DeJuan Cease. We need to get Darian Grant playing so that we can keep the guys fresh a little bit. And at defensive end, I thought Logan really played pretty good, and Hansford played pretty good as well. But, between Vaughn, Eddie Kelly, and Jonathan Ross, we just need to get those guys, more reps, because we just can't play 4 or 5 guys. We need to play more guys. We need to be more conscious about that and make sure we have a more active rotation up front for certain. Because I think at other positions, I think injuries dictated a little bit. I think Boyles could play all day. Obviously, between Gordon and Greer, they played most of the game. Matt Hill got hurt, so Curry played a bunch. Evans and Christian Williams got hurt. So, during the game, 3 of your starting secondary players got hurt in the game. And you end up, Josh Green played a lot at corner, obviously on the other corner, who am I missing there? AB had to play, a significant portion of the game in the other corner. And as the game went on, AB busted the coverage early, but he played, pretty good at from the middle of the second quarter on.
Ryan Ricard.
Hey, Coach. Just kind of take that other step further, talking more at the second level. I know you had guys banged up a little bit, and in particular with the linebacking core, Antonio Greer dealing with that hamstring. And what are some of the things you like and some of the things you're seeing in practice from those guys in the linebacking core and how they can kind of step up and carry some of that load?
Well, honestly, again, I've been doing this for a long time. Dwayne Boyles is as fine a person as I've ever seen. I think Greer gets a lot of the accolades, but Boyles just does everything that a coach would want. He works hard. He's respectful. He practices hard every day. He never makes excuses. He tries to encourage his teammates, and he's awesome. He does a great job. DJ Gordon did a fine job the other day. He certainly knows, what he did wrong and how he needs to improve. But DJ Gordon's a very good player, and he just needs game reps and experience. And we all have a tremendous amount of confidence in DJ. Not having Antonio hurts because he's got a really high football IQ. He's a good communicator, a good leader. I think he'd have made an impact on the game. I think some of the tempo things and things along those lines, had he been in there, I think he'd have settled the group a little bit. But at the will linebacker behind Boyles, Brian Norris played a fair amount and is a key special teams contributor and has some snaps. And the guy I'm really kind of excited about, and he just continues to improve every day in practice, is Jalen Schuler. So, hopefully we'll have an opportunity for him to get some reps this weekend as well. So that's the group at that position. That's basically the travel squad and the group of guys that are gonna continue to play as we move forward.
Last question from Joey Johnston.
Sorry, Coach, I had some technical difficulties earlier. Are you coaching
Yeah, we
from
had
the press box?
We had technical difficulties in the quarter the other day, so that's no excuse.
I know. I'm just keeping with that theme. Are you coaching from the press box or the field on Saturday?
Press box.
Press box. Okay, you stay in the press box.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that make for a more comfortable situation for you? Do you prefer to be there to call the defense, have that vantage point versus being right on the field?
Yeah, I don't like being near the field. I prefer to be in the press box. So, I don't know if that's just a curiosity question or if you're asking if it had something to do with last week. I felt like we had 2 scrimmages where we did this. So, we have to do better with tempo and some communication things that maybe you don't iron out till actually a true game happens. But I thought the assistant coaches did a great job. I thought the players really, from a mechanical standpoint on the sideline and with certain things did a really good job. We didn't handle the tempo well, specifically in the first quarter. It wasn't like there was 30 plays of it, but it was 4 or 5 really key plays. And as well as I do, if a D lineman's out of his gap, his parents know and the D line coach knows. If a linebacker's out of his gap, maybe a few more people know and it's a 10-yard gain. But if a DB is out of position and we leave a guy uncovered, we do some garbage like that. I mean, it's a touchdown, and it doesn't take Todd Bowles to sit out there and say something's wrong right there, and that's sort of what happened early, and I'm going to continue to coach from the box, and we have a good system in place, and like I said, I'm not going to rush to judge things. I mean, the identity of our staff and the identity of our players is still to be determined. It was not a great start. It was not a good start, but we have another opportunity this Saturday, and after a handful of we're not going to panic. After a handful of games, we'll see if this is the best way to do things. I've coached for, whatever years I've been a coordinator, and I've never been a coordinator from the field. And I don't see that happening now.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. We'll get Coach Trickett in.
Yep. Thank you.
Why didn't you just come in?
Leo, get us started, please.
I will. Thank you, Brian. Coach, looking at the pick 6, that was a perfect example of if one guy doesn't do his job, that's what happens. If the receiver catches the ball, he may be still running up Dale Mabry because everybody else is blocked. Is that basically what you got to tell your guys? Hey, we got to get 11 doing their job on the same play at the same time.
Sound like you were in the locker room. Yes, that's it. That was the first. Haven't had that one happen before. But yes, so, I think everyone took a turn. Everyone took a turn, which is an unfortunate thing. Going to that game, the number one thing I told the guys was like, I just want BYU to get our best. If they get our best, then we can all put our head on the pillow at night and be just fine, right? And they didn't. They probably got our worst. It was watch film. There was a guy here, a guy there, a guy here, a guy there, and it was the same place we repped for about 2 weeks. And so that's what was disappointing. And if we just do our job, we're in just fine shape. Even the first third down, if we just read the correct key that we've read all year, those things. But I think maybe people felt like they needed to press. We got caught up, I think, probably in the momentum of the game where we just got to play the play. We had a saying being one play warrior. Just do your job for that one play, whatever your job is. Make sure your communication is on point. All right, we know who we're working to. All right, we're all on the same page. And we'll be just fine. Like, we've got enough players. You can see when we were in sync and rolling, we got plenty to go. But that was what was disappointing. BYU didn't get our best. USF beat USF 100%. Now, give credit to BYU. They're a very good team. They are a very good team. And at the point of attack, it was a battle, But we had opportunities that we didn't capitalize on. So we've got to make sure we do a better job. It all starts with me. So I've got to make sure our guys attack and just do their job and follow their rules. Don't get caught up in anything else, and play one play at a time. If we do that, we'll be fine.
Coach, a quick follow-up on that. I know you can't use the rain delay as an excuse, but players are set to have that emotional gun go off at kickoff. Now it's 2.5 hours back. They're delayed. You don't know what's going to happen. If we're having this conversation after week 8, after a game like that, that's when you push the panic button, right?
Yeah, I'd say we're not panicked. Like, that's one thing for us. Like, I have confidence. We have an experienced team. We're just not experienced together yet. We have a quarterback that's played a lot of games, won a lot of games too. And so I think that was the first time he's dealt with a game where it's all of a sudden, and he forced a little bit. And he'll tell you the same thing, and he can't do that. You just got to go, hey, what's my deal? Go here to here, and we'll be fine. And same thing at each position, like I said, a wideout, make a couple of great plays, but then we got, again, the ball hits our hands, we got to make the play. And then also, like we said, communication on our job, we got to make sure we do it, especially on the perimeter screens. And then also line-wise, we got guys that play a lot of ball games, and then, we don't work to this guy, we're working to that guy. And that was the frustrating part on not complicated stuff. And that tells me that I've got to do a better job, even if whatever happens situationally, it doesn't matter. Like, if they want us to go play on concrete at midnight, we got to be ready to go do that. Like, and I have to make sure I get those guys, and our coaching staff get those guys ready to do that at that point in time. They were ready. We weren't. And Coach Scott had a plan for it. We talked about it for the previous week. We talked to our players about it a week before. Hey, if we ever have a delay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to come out there. I thought he handled it great, but obviously we didn't come out the way we need to come out. So that's on me as the offensive coordinator. I got to make sure that our guys are, again, just in the mindset to go do your job and just execute the play that you're asked to execute, and have a one-play warrior mindset. We do that, we'll be fine.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Lanny, go ahead.
So you told me to ask you this week instead of last week, but what are some of the highlights and strengths that you see in your offense now heading into Howard?
Yeah, I wish I could give you an answer because we're on the field to really kind of find out. I do so a couple of guys that I think can step up and help us this year. I think Joe's got a chance to be a guy like that. He played a little bit, and then and again, there's some opportunities for him downfield. If we gave up a pressure on one, if we pick it up, now we pick it up. We just got beat one-on-one on one instance, and if we handle that protection, I think Joe probably would have had a touchdown too as well. But if buts can't, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we make those plays when they're there. But I think Joe is going to have a good future for us. I'm excited about him. Obviously, you saw him play some. We know what we got in Jaron and Bat, and but what I'd say is I think Mikey Duke's going to be a good player for us. Chopper Brown played a little bit. Chopper Brown and Holden Willis, I think, are two guys that are going to end up being good players for us too. Again, but they saw their first action for the Bulls. Guys settled in. Gunnar Greenwald played pretty good in some instances. So again, we got some guys that some guys have not played with us and are experienced. Some guys are inexperienced and are playing for us now. So I think there's a lot of that with that first game deal. But those are some names of the guys I think have bright futures here.
And then my final question for you is, Scott talked about one of the major things that went on during the game was just being smarter with making calls for plays and things like that. What are some things that you as a coach have worked on this past week in order to make the adjustments for Saturday?
Yeah. So, in the game, the last game, again, if we call the same plays, we execute, I think we're just fine. It's really, at the end of the day, they came out and played us a little differently than I played some people in the past, which is a credit to them. Again, that's great. We got to make sure that we adjust. Felt good about what we were doing. It was a deal like our guys, just again, it was a play here, a guy there. And then, like previously said, we have opportunities for plays. This week, the number one thing is just making sure that history doesn't repeat itself. And we go out there and we know where we're keying. We know what our route depth is. We know what our IDs are. We know our combinations. We know exactly what we're reading, our drops, all those things, and just go out there and play. If we just attack and do our jobs, again, I do believe we have enough on this offense to be a good offense. So that's really this week is make sure, like, hey, how they're going to line up. Now, on third down, they're a little bit more complex, but you know how they're going to line up. Let's make sure we do a great job as far as IDing, coming off the ball, being our best selves, and just be our best selves. That's the number one thing we want to make sure our guys do this week.
Thank you.
Will Turner, go ahead.
Morning, Coach. I was taking a look at Gary's direction chart from this past week. Noticed obviously a lot of throws between the numbers, which is something we talked about that he does best. A lot to the outside left. Just 3 passes to the outside right. Is that an area that you see him as an outlier for this week, or something you want to do a little bit more?
I just think that's just how with lack of plays, I think it's just a small sample size. I don't think there's anything really that, because really, last week there's a couple, the defense told them which side to work. So it wasn't a deal where it was like, hey, I have this option. I'm not going there. I'm going here. So I think that's just probably due to a small sample size. I'd say, no, but again, like I said, Gary's a guy that has the ability to attack the entire field with his arm. I think we've seen that. At the end of the day, we're going to just make sure that, again, based on what they're doing, we got to make sure the ball goes in the right place. And feel really good about what we're going to do and the guys we got and what we're asking our guys to do. And but no, I think we'll probably just more or less of just a sample size of not many plays being ran, unfortunately. We got to be better on third down so we get more plays ran. So hopefully those balls do go to the right if it dials it up that way.
And then looking forward to Saturday. I mean, this is an opportunity, I'm sure, that you guys have to be able to pretty much do just about anything you guys want offensively. Just kind of what's your philosophy in play calling, against a team that you should obviously don't want to take for granted, but should be able to do the majority of what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, the perspective I always have in these games, here's what I have is I've been on the other side of these games. So when I was at Sanford, we played teams on the road, and I remember 2013, we played up at Arkansas and no one gave us a shot. We were like 25-point dogs, and we look up in the fourth quarter and we're up 21-17, and so, these teams come in here, we had a belief that we were going to do our job and do what we do. And a lot of people don't counted us out, and then going into, I think it was 2014, we played Auburn. And, first quarter, we score first, and the second quarter, 7-3, and we go up 7-0, and then they score 3. So halftime, then they score 10 on 2-minute drive, but halftime it's 10-7 versus Auburn. So I've been on the other side. So I know the psyche of what teams perceive. And so what I tell guys too, I always told myself I'd be this one. Hey, like this, we respect our opponent 100%. Because again, if you out there and play like we did last week, then it don't matter, man. Like it does not matter. You just got to do your job. Like, we've got to be our best self, and that's what we told the offense. Like all I wanted last week was be our best selves. Give BYU our best version of ourselves, and we didn't do that. We probably gave them our worst version, to be honest with you, based on what we've seen from all summer, fall camp on, right? So, this week is really about us doing our job. Like, hey, go out here, know your assignment, go play fast, be confident, see the deal, and go play, and then go out there and attack. Like, it's got to be an attack mindset. It doesn't matter what the play call is. Go attack, do your job. If we do that, we'll be good, And so it's really, it doesn't matter who rolls out there. We got to play it the same way. So whether the New York Giants want to show up, Howard, whoever, it doesn't matter, And I say that because we respect Howard. Like, they got my full attention. They've, because I've been on that other sideline. I've been in those games. And so I know how you think people look upon you. I know the mindset of being talked about in the locker room, especially a coach. Coach Scott's a great coach. Larry Scott, that is too, and who played here and he's from here. So, this is a big game. So we got to make sure we just do our job and play the best of our ability, because we're going to get their best shot without question.
Brian Urquhart.
Hey, Coach, just one quick one for you. Brian Petit had that one touchdown in the first game, and obviously he's such an explosive player. Just kind of want to get your thoughts on what his workload looks like going into these next couple of games and how he sort of fits into your philosophy offensively and how you guys game plan here going forward.
Yeah. Probably saw him play 5 if we could fly the perimeter, and like was alluded to earlier on, right?
Right.
And then there's a couple plays where we had he's got the operating. We're going to get him on the perimeter. He can run inside the tackle box too, so it's not that he just be that. No, he's a player for us. Like I said, he's not just a special teams guy. I mean, I think I feel really good about our backfield, and he's got the opportunity to make an impact for us on offense. So we got to make sure we get him out in space, get him running, and that's where his best ball is. And obviously, Jaren's best ball is in between tackles, even though both can do either or. But no, I'm excited about him. I'm glad Brian's here with us, and he's a weapon for us. We got weapons outside, we got weapons in the backfield. So again, we got to make sure we keep utilizing him and giving him his at bats. And then when we do get his at bats, we got to go execute plays.
Thank you.
JJ.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
morning.
Just wanted to ask about Gary and the receivers. Just two questions. First one, does Gary have the option to, I know it's his first game, in your first game too, as in the offense, does he have the option to make a hot read or audible out of something if he sees it?
All of our plays have rules built in for them. So, and protection issues, we really don't have. Again, we're picked up on everything for the most part. So he's got certain rules that he's got to go with the ball on certain things. So he has decisions he can make. Let's put it that way. There's no audibles, but there's options. So it depends on whatever they do. Like then he can just decide where the ball needs to go.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just what are you looking forward to this week as a start of, just expanding? We've seen X have a big game, and who are you looking forward to, taking that next step this week?
Hopefully everybody. Like there wasn't but that it all went around. Like everyone in the last game had a hand in the outcome. Like everybody from top to bottom. And number one, myself, right? Number one, myself, getting our guys ready to play. So what we got to do is we got to make sure that I'm looking forward to us going out there and being our best. That's really all I care about. Like just be our best selves. That's it. We be our best selves. We can again, because I feel good about what we have in our rooms, and so that's the number one thing, because there was opportunities for a lot of guys to make plays in the previous game, and we got to make sure we execute so that happens. So a guy like a Joe can get his opportunity that we had lined up for him, or a guy like Jimmy where he's open, we got to make it a little bit better throw, or and then we had some things dialed up from Jimmy downfield, and so I think all the way across the board, we about to throw a ball to Choppery, and we had a couple things there, and talk about bat. So again, though, it goes back to, if you look at it, it's a thing here, a thing there, whether it's up front, tight end, quarterback, receiver, running back, just some uncharacteristic stuff. So what I'm really looking forward to is us going out there and playing and knowing and seeing. Like I want everyone to see what I see. That's really what I want to see. They didn't see. We didn't get to see. You guys didn't get to see our BYU. No one got to see what USF's about. And so we're going to make sure that's our number one priority this weekend, is go out there and be what we need to be about.
And then quick question as well. Since the team did get a chance to go back and review, are the players more wide open, like, oh, this is what it looks like, or what it could have looked like, if we hit on what you're talking about?
For sure. No, the belief is there. The frustrating part for them is they came in on Sunday, or no, they had Sunday off. They came in on Monday, and when they saw it, they were like, man, like the crap, man. You know what I mean? Kind of like one of those looks. And I said, hey, it is what it is. It happens. But the number one thing is like this feeling, like it can't happen again. Like we've got to make sure we learn from this, because if you don't learn from this, it's in vain. And do anything in vain nowadays, you might as well just stop doing it. Like growth happens when you go through stuff and you fix it, right? And so I think number one thing we got to get caught up in, it's just being a one-play warrior. That's one thing that's been our T-shirts say. Like, don't get caught up in what's going on here or what's going on there. Stay locked in on your job and just play for each other, with each other. And our guys do that. Like I really love our chemistry we have on that. So we just got to make sure we keep that mindset.
All right. Last questions from Joey Johnston.
Coach, I realize the game situation might have dictated otherwise, but moving forward, how do you feel about your running game and your ability to kind of control the game in that aspect?
Sure. No, we had opportunities. Like I said, that's where I'd say like BYU, they did a good job. The previous year played us a certain kind of way. And then this year they decide, hey, we're 340 pounds up front. We're going to be 340, 330. We're going to be big dudes in there. And so they play some different techniques against us to try to just maximize their strength. And that's a big front. Like that's like we'll see us front that size probably 1 or 2 more times this year. Size wise, and we'll see some really good fronts. Don't get me wrong, but just the sheer size, right? And so I again feel good. Like we the thing is like you can't really judge it because we weren't on the field. We were awful on third down, just awful on third down. And if we just convert our third downs, we'll be fine. We ran the ball 4th and short on the goal line, right? We converted the 4th and short run. So when you run the ball when you need to, that tells you, okay, we're good. When you can't run the ball when you need to, that's when you got a little bit of an issue. But we'll be better. We just got to make sure we do better on third down so we get those at-bats, you know, and we got to be able to stay out and get a little bit bigger sample size.
Thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank y'all.